Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Fresh, and welcome back because today we are here breaking down episode 3 of Welcome to Derry. And man, I ain't gonna lie, this show just keeps getting wilder and wilder, fam. Now, I will say right off the bat, this probably wasn't the greatest episode out of the all the three, but I will say narratively, this felt like it was the most important for sure. All right, so let me go ahead and set the stage so that we all in the same spooky room, you know what I'm saying? So in episode 3, we keep bouncing between two timelines from the past, which is 1908, and the present, which is the 1962 there, because this show is not playing around, fam, because it jumps off in the 1908 flashback. And oh my God. And once again, within the first 10 minutes of the damn episode, you are already like, come on now, dog. Come on, man. But we do meet young Francis Shaw, which is the kid version of the adult General Shaw, you know what I'm saying, out on the road with his dad, they're at a carnival and things get real freaky, you know what I'm saying? Circus freak show vibes, a weird skeleton man, which I will definitely get to in a second. We do see a glimpse of Pennywise's eyes, and you do see a glimpse of Pennywise, you know what I'm saying, with the balloon also as well in the background. But bruh, this opening sequence, fam. Oh, peep. So Francis goes into the little house of carnival things or whatever, and shout out to the House of Mirrors, which is, an homage to it, chapter 2, I want to say. The man at the end of this damn hall, bro, we see this ugly ass skeleton man with an eye missing, and obviously Francis run out. And look, I ain't gonna lie, I know that's how it was back in the day. I mean, it kind of like that is now, depending on how your pops is, but Francis Pops is basically like, hey, bro, don't stop being a little bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't even nothing to be scared of. Now, granted, he didn't see what Francis just saw, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, though, it still made me chuckle. So Francis and his Pop's car end up overheating, so they end up stopping to get some water. And that's where we end up being introduced to young version of Rose, you know what I'm saying? And so he ended up trading his slingshot that his Pop just gave him for the water, you know what I'm saying? They was broke. They just basically spilled all their money at the fair. And I think the water was like 5 cents. So long story short, Francis and, you know what I'm saying, Rose started hanging out. Like some OG loser club type vibe situations, you know what I'm saying? But they cool, they hanging out. And then Francis dumbass ends up going into the forest. And man, when I tell you Pennywise started tasting him as the skeleton man, it looked like some Until Dawn type BS. And I ain't even talking about the good Until Dawn, the video game. I'm talking about that dumbass movie that they decided to release. Cause like, what in the hell was that? Now I ain't gonna lie, the CGI in this episode was a little wonky. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, we're not watching this for the CGI, but I will say it was definitely giving me some old Scooby Doo vibes in certain instances, especially in the graveyard scene, which I would definitely get to in a little bit. Just as Pennywise was about to good old E. Francis, our girl Rose ended up showing up with that slingshot, hitting him in his good eye and saving him. And then, you know what I'm saying, they end up escaping out the forest. Hey, man, that slingshot is like an infinity gun in the It universe. You know what I'm saying? Like, God damn. But we also learned that Pennywise doesn't go outside of the forest, which also would explain why, you know what I'm saying, the Native American tribe decided to set up where they did set up. But from the get-go, man, the show is telling us that this is ancient evil meeting generational trauma. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. This was 1908 and it's now 1962. And Jennifer Shaw is like trying to like basically re-dig all of this up to use it to help with the Cold War, which is a whole nother issue. I will say I am definitely loving this duo, you know what I'm saying, of Rose and General Shaw. Like I love how they showed their friendship in 1908 and it basically spanned 1962, but also at the same time have their own opposite sides of how they want to handle this entity because they don't really know it's Pennywise yet, but so they just call it the entity. But at the same time, though, they both want to keep it, and kind of keep it hidden. I do kind of like how Rose she doesn't really want them to dig, but she's gonna let them kind of dig, long enough to, kind of see what they're up to. Because I think she's really the only one, like her and her nephew, who really knows about Pennywise, So it is definitely real interesting, like seeing their dynamic and seeing how it's gonna play out for I think what 8 episodes in the first season. So yeah, I am definitely looking forward to it, man. Shout out to Laura Rating. So if I remember General Shaw Pops in the beginning of the episode, you know what I'm saying? He ended up getting redeployed. So that's why they ended up moving away for Derry. And Francis ended up forgetting everything. So I'm thinking what ended up happening was he maybe ended up getting redeployed either near Derry or actually in Derry. And that's what kind of made him start to remember everything that happened. And that's kind of why we're here, you know what I'm saying, where we are now. So if y'all remember, like that's one thing that does happen a lot. Like once they move out of Derry, like they don't remember. The further you get away from Derry, the less you remember. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one thing that I do like that they got that, you know what I'm saying, connection going throughout, like, you know what I'm saying, the novel and the movies and the miniseries. And that kind of takes me back to, if y'all remember at the end of the first episode when they end up digging up that shot up car, you know what I'm saying, from the 1930s. Well, they ended up not finding anything, you know what I'm saying, except for those basically, you know what I'm saying, skeletons and old money and things like that. But it wasn't exactly what General Shaw was looking for, because he's basically looking for Pennywise, you know what I'm saying? Well, he's looking for the entity to try to use his, you know what I'm saying, his fear and his psychic abilities against the Russians in the Cold War. Just okay. But it's to the point now to where Lord Raiden is now irritated, you know what I'm saying? So now he's at the point to where like, hey, look, Dick, like he's doing nobody no good just by staring at maps, you know what I'm saying, here at base and maybe pointing out things like, hey, book our boy flight on Spirit Airlines. I'm gonna give him this and we gonna send him up, see if he can, you know what I'm saying, do some shining shit and see if he can get a location for where the hell this thing is. Enter Dick Hallorann and Leroy Hamlin, two black dudes with common sense, but no damn way out. So, bro, they end up putting Halloran on a plane like it's like Top Gun Exorcist Edition or some shit like that. And the military basically tells him, hey, bro, use your shining ability. I'm gonna give you this slingshot that my partner used to pop this motherfucker in the head like a long time ago when we was kids and see if you can, you know what I'm saying, pinpoint us in any type of location in some way, shape, or form. Everything started out smooth for the most part, you know what I'm saying? And as soon as Halloran touched that slingshot, he ended up having a moment like Thanos did when he finally got all the Infinity Stones together. And he, you know, but my nigga fool. He ended up in the sewers. He sees Clown Wagon with Pennywise scrambled up on it. He saw the yellow eyes, floating bodies, toys dropping. He saw his dead grandma, who also had the shine ability, apparently. And it was like a nightmare theme party mixed with metaphysical war zone, bro. It was absolutely insane, fam. And it was crazy because literally in the middle of the vision, he realized that, no, this is not me in his mind. He's in my mind now, and Pennywise was basically cycling through all of his fears like he had the remote from Click or something like that. I will say though, I do love how they are showing his powers in like his earlier years, and it is interesting and cool to see like how they include his character into the show. You know what I'm saying? Like we see how stupid he died, you know what I'm saying, in the Shining movie. I mean, he doesn't die in the book, you know, so, well, not like that for the most part, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like to think he lived through all of this BS with Pennywise only to get killed by Jack Nicholson, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hey, Halloran definitely had one of the best lines of the episode, though. You know, him and General Shaw was talking after, you know what I'm saying? He had a moment. He freaked out. He almost jumped out the airplane. Leroy saved him, you know what I'm saying? Obviously. But yeah, we almost lost him in episode 3. But yeah, he definitely had one of the best lines of the episode because he was basically like, hey, bro, we need to leave this alone. You know what I'm saying? Because this was the first time I think he's encountered something or anybody that had more like stronger psychic abilities than him. He was like, nah, bro, it saw me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't supposed to happen, bro. But on a slightly positive note, though, you know, it sounds like the upgrade that he's gonna get for him and his partner is gonna end up being the black spot, you know what I'm saying, from the novels. Now, what happens to that spot isn't positive, but at least until we get there, you know what I'm saying, at least they're gonna have a better spot to hang out at, you know what I'm saying, than the one they currently are. Meanwhile, these damn kids, Lily, Ronnie, Will, and Rich, I don't know why I said their name like New Edition or something like that, but they are having midnight spiritual rituals and like cemeteries and shit like that. Like, hey, maybe something in the Oryx will help, you know. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Now look, I understand why, you know what I'm saying? They trying to get proof to get Ronnie's dad out of jail and they trying to make sure Lily don't get lobotomized. But at the same time, though, playing around with this ain't what you might want to be doing, you know. But before I get to the kids' graveyard shenanigans, though, I did want to talk about the, you know, the nice dinner scene with the Hanlons, you know what I'm saying, and Dick Hallorann. He did pop up over there, you know what I'm saying. He did eat dinner with Hank and Charlotte. And we also learned that Charlotte was also a history teacher, you know what I'm saying, back in Louisiana. Like, long story short, she's basically overqualified for any of the low-level jobs that, you know what I'm saying, she was allowed to do back then, you know what I'm saying, in those times. So it'll be kind of interesting to see, what I'm saying, what she end up doing. Like I know in like a trailer for like the next episode, we see her talking to Rose. So she might end up like, what I'm saying, joining up with like the Native Americans, like helping them out on, what I'm saying, whatever issue they gonna have going on with like the military supply and stuff like that. So yeah, it it's going to be an interesting dynamic because we also learned like with her being so into like the civil rights movement and stuff like that, it can cause a hamper on what I'm saying, Leroy's military career. So that I feel like that dynamic is really gonna come into play. What I'm saying, like the more episodes we get between them two. But either way we go, though, I love Charlotte. She's so goddamn fine. So Hanlon kind of realized that Halloran was one of the people that was in the room, what I'm saying, with the mask on that jumping that day because he can kind of tell, he could feel like that psychic presence, what I'm saying, like with the Shining incident. And then he felt that again when, what I'm saying, he got attacked. And, Dick was obviously there because he had to test out to make sure that he actually can't experience any fear. But he was basically like, hey, bro, we cool and all, but just stay out my head. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't need to be doing that and shit. Halloran was like, hey, bro, you ain't got to worry about that, fam. I looked in your brain and yeah, like, your doodle oblongata is basically gone and you can't experience fear. And you ain't got to worry about it. I ain't going to fuck with you. However, I do want you in these trenches with me though, because yeah, we need to watch each other back around these parts. But I do think this is kind of setting up, what I'm saying, that Hamlin will kind of realize when it is Pennywise that's kind of messing with him because, what I'm saying, that part of the brain that like, what I'm saying, exhibits fear is gone. So, and that's one thing that Pennywise feeds off of. So I think it'll be a lot harder to get, what I'm saying, to get to Leroy, which is also why, General Shaw wants him to be the one to kind of help him find him in the first place. Now, I don't think it's like full on plot armor. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's just like invincible from Pennywise, but I do think that's gonna be interesting to see. You know what I'm saying? Like how those like fights and interaction play out between those two. Well, three including, what I'm saying, Howard. All right, Sharon, let's get to these dumbass kids real quick. So, like I said earlier, so they decide to go into the graveyard, right? They was listening to Rich, who I'm not gonna lie, he's probably one of my favorite right now, which means that he's definitely not gonna make it for sure. Rich out there making up stuff, you know what I'm saying? He said first it was his uncle that told him, then his cousin. They basically found out that he was lying and making it up, which I mean, honestly, it's Pennywise. He can mess with anybody at any time. So you really don't have to be out here doing any of this to make him be like, oh, let's see what we got out here today. You know what I'm saying? So as they're leaving, bruh, you see like an angel Jesus statue or something just kind of like turn and smirk at them with like the most evilest look. And I'm like, yeah, it's about to go down. But the next thing you know, the ground start cracking, headstones start crumbling. We got ghost kids rising. Oh my God, that CGI was fucking terrible. But the Losers Club end up basically getting chased by some of their old friends. We saw Susie and Maddie. I think we also saw Teddy as well. You know what I'm saying? So something I also did notice in the cemetery scene was the fact that Phil, for some reason, was not one of the kids floating around chasing them. And if I'm not mistaken, though, in episode two, his face also wasn't messed up like the other one. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on for sure. But one thing about this scene, though, also is that it gives them all a Pennywise experience together. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, I guess, the official Losers Club bonding moment. You know what I'm saying? Because, after Will had his moment and he ended up like taking a picture in the crypt, he was the last one out. You know what I'm saying? And so he was like, he looked at Ronnie and was like, I definitely should have believed you. And she was like, yeah, you goddamn right, and hugged him, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, like like despite the CGI in that scene, you know what I'm saying? I did like the cemetery scene for what it was and what it was trying to do, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, it didn't look the best, but it did what it needed to do. And it got us to where we needed to go, which was the end, because after they got through that finally, they end up going to the school and developing the film. And bruh, the very last picture. So they looking at it, you know what I'm saying? I can't remember who it was, but they was like, what is it? And then I think it was Rich. It was like,
it's a clown.
And then that's how the episode went out. And all I can say is bravo, man. I think a major theme for this episode for sure was definitely like, how adults were just covering up stuff, like the overall racism and corruption that's going on in there. I mean, it's the 1960s, you know what I'm saying? So that's all you need to know. But I will say, don't sleep on this though, because the show does announce early on that part of the horror in Derry is the adults basically refusing to see and acknowledge what's really going on. Like the police blame Hayden Krogan, you know what I'm saying, Ronnie's dad for what happened to the kids, you know what I'm saying, at the movie theater on the first episode. We see him get paid a visit, and it also don't help that. I mean, you would definitely find like some of his squares, you know what I'm saying, at the movie theater because he works there. But they did say that they had a witness that did start to see him at 11:30 at night. So I don't know if he was out trying to go get some cutty or what he was trying to do, but he did kind of look surprised when he did say that, like, oh, damn, somebody saw me. So, I'm not saying he was doing nothing foul, but the fact that we did get like a Shawshank Redemption, you know what I'm saying? Nah, it was pretty cool to see, you know what I'm saying? Like that's also one of my mom's favorite movies, by the way. Think about that, you know what I'm saying? Or like the military wanting to weaponize the entity or Pennywise, you know what I'm saying? Like how, the overall structural racism that's going on. It's just like episode 3 doesn't like just scare you with the monsters. It scares you with the system, you know what I'm saying? Let's think about it like with Halloween and Hamlin, you know what I'm saying? You got two black men in Derry, they're facing not just the overall monster, which is Pennywise, but a society stacked against them. You know what I'm saying? The military is basically saying, yeah, we'll use your power. You know what I'm saying? While the town is basically saying, like, "Won, boy." So they got to deal with, you know what I'm saying, everything. There's more than one monster in Derry for those who, for sure, you know what I'm saying? It shows up everywhere. They basically like, you want us to fight a monster and Jim Crow? Like, God damn, can we get a break? Some of the Easter eggs that I did notice this episode, I think one of the most obvious ones was when I was talking about earlier, when the chief was talking to Hank and he was like, they do the kitty killers in Shawshank, that was in reference to the Shawshank Redemption movie. I mean, the Shawshank Redemption movie and prison, you know what I'm saying? That's in the King universe. Obviously, Hollerin's shine ability is in reference to the Shine universe. I mean, the Barry card is a nod to like the old 1930s Derry cycle that Pennywise was wilding in. I cannot wait to see that. That's gonna be season 2. And I just want to see him up there with that damn Tommy gun. And it's probably gonna be fucking hilarious. But yeah, Stephen King built a cinematic universe before Marvel did. Fight me. Man, seeing Pennywise's lair once again was well worth the wait, though, dog. And also, can we talk about Pennywise's tower in Oranges and Clemenstein's returning too? Have I been a good boy this year? We also find out that Rose's tribe is called the Children of Maturin, which is the cosmic turtle that's in Avatar Forgotten, the Dark Tower series, which we've seen like a lot of references to like turtle references, you know what I'm saying, throughout the whole first 3 episodes. So we have to see a turtle in some way, shape, or form come into play. I don't know how you do it. I really don't give a damn. Just do it. Okay, so episode 3 does more than scary. You know what I'm saying? It basically changed the game. And here's what I think is going to happen in the future. So the monster Pennywise is no longer just moving around the shadows. You know what I'm saying? He's making a move. Like the photo in the crypt, that's not cameo level. He is about to headline and fuck shit up next episode. Like you've already seen him, you know what I'm saying, in different shapes and forms, but I think this is probably gonna be the first episode where we're gonna see him in full on clown, you know what I'm saying, full on Pennywise like we've been waiting on. Because we also got to think about this too. Like, yes, the kids was able to, you know what I'm saying, snap photos of like the spirits and stuff like that, but that wouldn't have happened if like Pennywise wasn't allowed to happen. He basically let them do that, you know what I'm saying? Man, I also think that Halloween is going to be deeply marked by his vision, you know what I'm saying? I think he's going to be changed, it's left him shook, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I do think like the shine is going to turn him to 100 though, because it does look like he will be like using this to interrogate like one Native Americans. It look like he's going to be interrogating Rose's nephew or something. So yeah, man, I just love how they got. I thought he was just gonna be like maybe a recurring character, but knowing that he's one of the major characters is freaking phenomenal, dog. I do think after the cemetery experience, like the kids are gonna form like a proto losers club. You know what I'm saying? They'll fight back. Some will survive, some won't. I'm telling you, dog. I hate to say it, but I think Rich, Ronnie, honestly, I think Will's probably gonna be the only one to survive. I mean, we know he survives this for sure. You know what I'm saying? I mean. he dies another way later on. But you know what I'm saying? I think as far as like this period, the 60 period goes, yeah, I think Will's probably the only one that's gonna make it out of this one alive, yo. The military subplot, I'm still iffy on, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of hit or miss for me, you know. It is gonna blow up in their faces horribly. Like trying to use the evil as a weapon, like never worked out for anybody, especially like in a horror series, and especially not in anything Stephen King related. Like, bruh, you're gonna learn real quick that you can't trust a freaking cosmic clown and use it as a weapon. Like, that's how you end up in the prequel and the sequel series. I also think that Rose's sacred ground stuff is gonna intersect with the kid storyline eventually, like the old guard meets the new type situation, and like she's gonna basically pass down the slingshot to one of them. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna use that to like put away maybe Pennywise this time. Man, but that is a wrap on episode 3. Now you see it. Look, this show just isn't about what's lurking in the dark. It's about what we pretend isn't there. Like with the kids looking for the truth, like the adults hiding, and Pennywise's shadow growing bigger. Hey, it is about to get real in Derry episode 4. You know what I'm saying? And also, we got to remember too, like episode 4 is going to be the halfway point, and you already know it's about to go down. But man, if you like this breakdown, hit that like button, share it with your fellow horror nerds. Comment below what was your favorite scene out of this one. Definitely let me know what your thoughts was on the graveyard scene for sure. And subscribe if you want more randomness from your boy. And until next time, man, keep your lights on. Don't trust no sewer grates. And remember, in Derry, the scariest monster might be denial. Peace.